Hello everyone and welcome. Today I'm gonna talk about my reading habits. I've made a previous video where I talked about reading slumps, how to get out of them, things and tips you can put to use if you want to get out of reading slumps and get to reading more. And I have noticed in these past perhaps 3 months that I've been reading a lot more than I usually do. I'm reading perhaps the most I've been in my entire life right now, and I'm enjoying it immensely. So I'm going to talk about my own reading habits, and please feel free to share your own. But let's start with the weekdays where I typically work 8 hours per day. I start the day with waking up fairly early. I'm lucky that I start work a bit late, like 8:30, usually every day. So I have that luxury to wake up early and spend some time reading before work. So the first thing I do in the morning is I wake up, I prepare some tea usually, a gong fu session, and I sit down and I read for usually 1 hour. If I'm really in the mood, I will read like 1 hour and 30 minutes. It all depends on how much time I have and if I have other things to do before work. But yeah, that's usually what I do. I wake up, prepare some tea or tisane, and I start reading. And my setup for reading this early in the morning is usually I start with the hardest book that I'm reading. I usually read 2 or 3 books at a time. So I start with the hardest book and I read perhaps for 30 minutes, and then I go on to bit more easier reading material, perhaps a non-fiction. If I start out with like a religious text and then I go on to non-fiction, and when I've read the non-fiction I usually go on to my fiction, which is usually like pleasure reading, sort of. But the fiction books are usually books that I can really just read for enjoyment, even if I don't get too much out of them. In a spiritual or I don't know, just for pure knowledge or anything like that. I sometimes read fiction just to get my mind away from reality and the hard things in life. But yeah, in the mornings before work, 1 hour to 1.5 hours. Really enjoy reading early in the morning. My mind is fresh. It's ready to just get a lot of information pumped in. So that's perfect. And I've been doing this for, I think, like since the summer, the start of the summer. And it's been a joy to wake up so early and to read books the first thing in the morning. And I usually do this at my desk. So I have just place the book on the desk and I read with a lamp, and I also have like a alarm clock that has like a bright light, so I have that on also, so I get a lot of sure it's artificial light, but I really have like having a lot of light on me when I'm waking up, so that I feel I feel a lot more awake when doing that, and it's especially nice when reading in those early hours when it's usually quite dark outside. So those are the things I do in the morning before work, and then after work I get home. I'm usually mentally very tired, and that's when it's very good to have that fiction book that is a bit of a pleasure read to just read that at the desk for perhaps usually I read 15-30 minutes, and then when it gets close to bedtime, I will take that fiction book and read it in bed as well for 20-30 minutes. Not every time, but a lot of the times in the week I will do just that. So in total, perhaps between 1 hour and 1 or 2 hours per day on weekdays when I work. That's the usual amount, I think. Sometimes it's more if I'm really in the mood, or if I'm like at the end of a book and I really want to finish it, I will read like crazy. But yeah, usually 1 to 2 hours on weekdays. And then on weekends, I will do pretty much the same. I will wake up the same time because I enjoy having a sleeping schedule that is similar every day. Even if it's weekend, I will try to sleep on the same times as when I work. So I wake up early in the morning, prepare some tea for Gong Fu session, and I start reading. But the difference is that I will read for a bit longer in the morning, usually 2 to 3 hours on weekends. So I start off reading like a small marathon, 2-3 hours. And when I've done that, I just go on with my day and do the other things I'll enjoy doing, like preparing videos for you guys. And then I try to just put in some reading sessions throughout the day. Sometimes they don't really happen at all, but that's fine since I've been reading so much in the morning. But yeah, usually the large amount of reading I do right in the morning on weekends. So maybe a total, perhaps I read between 6 and 8 hours in the weekends, and yeah, maybe between 7, 8, 9 hours on weekdays. So maybe a total of I guess between 13 to 15 hours per week I read. Sometimes more, sometimes less. It all depends on what kind of books I'm reading. Because if I'm reading like the Upanishads or another really, I'm reading the Quran right now, you have to take time with those kinds of books. There's lots of notes to read. There's just so much stuff to understand before you can move on. So you got to take it slow. And I'm already a pretty slow reader. But yeah, I think between 13 and 15 hours like that per week reading is perfect for me, and I get a lot of enjoyment out of that, and it's just enough for me to do the other things in life that I enjoy doing. So yeah, that's pretty much my reading habit right now. I've been doing this for a couple of months and I'm really happy doing it. And I think I will continue doing it just like this for the unforeseeable future. But please tell me how you are scheduling your reading. It would be really interesting to hear, especially from those people who read like 100 books per year. I can't imagine doing that myself, but I know there's a lot of people out there who are like this, and I would love to hear how you read your books. But that was all. I hope this was you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye.